Welcome to the EOB podcast, where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I am Binh, and joining me is Senh Duong. So, Senh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Man, Age of Ultron.
Well, sometimes we are right and sometimes we are wrong. And this is one of the cases where we were wrong.
Yeah, last week I was thinking, this would break the record, and I was even more bullish than other analysts. I think most people were projecting that they'll at least beat the 207 million opening record set by the first film. And I went beyond that and said 250 million. And it didn't do nearly that well.
Let's see, the Avengers made only 187.7 million estimate.
Yeah,
Only.
Yeah.
So it did not break the record. In fact, it made, less than the first movie.
But it is the second biggest opening of all time.
Right. You know what we weren't expecting and what other box office analysts weren't expecting?
Mayweather and Pacquiao.
Yep, Mayweather and Pacquiao.
And you know what else? The Game 7 of the
NBA playoffs.
Yeah, it's the Clippers versus the Spurs, and
it's an elimination game.
And then there's also the Kentucky Derby too, right?
Nobody cares about the Kentucky Derbies except gamblers.
Okay, that's true. The Mayweather-Pacquiao fight probably took a decent chunk out because it's the same audience. It's like guys in their 30s. It's like the same demographic. I was watching the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight too, and I'm not even a mediocre mile boxing fan, and I went to see that instead of Avengers. But I did see the Avengers on a press screening, so.
All right, you're cool there. But still, like two major events, the boxing match between Mayweather and Pacquiao, and the elimination game 7, elimination game between the LA Clippers and the Spurs took a big chunk of the audience away from Avengers Age of Ultron. And also Age of Ultron was released in a couple hundred theaters less than the first movie.
Okay. Is the running time higher too? Because I know this is 2 hours and 30 minutes. What's the running time for the first film? Was it that long?
The first film was like I think over 2 hours. The second movie is also around 2 hours, over 2 hours, 141 minutes.
I mean, it could be that some said, hey, the first film was the first time we saw all of these major Marvel superhero characters come together, and by the second film that freshness has worn off already. And I could see some of that, but at the same time I can also see this massive build-up too, because after the first Avengers, Iron Man 3 did better than any of the previous Iron Mans. Thor 2 did better than the previous film, and so did Captain America. So I was expecting Age of Ultron to do even better. But I guess, the 1-2 punch of, Mayweather versus Pacquiao and Game 7 of the NBA playoffs, of the defending champs, San Antonio Spurs versus the Clippers. They're all going for that young male audience. And I guess it took a small chunk out of the box office for Avengers.
Yeah, sure. For these kind of events, you gather family and friends, right? You set up hours in advance. You buy food, you buy drinks.
Yeah,
and, like hours before the game starts, right? And you go, you gather and sit around and talk. When you're at those gathering talking, you're not in the theaters watching the movie.
Yeah, right. I mean, they had this release date planned so far ahead, and maybe they weren't expecting the Mayweather versus Pacquiao to be such a huge event. I mean, you see celebrities, so almost like a red carpet event.
Well, I mean, it's really hyped up as pretty much like the second coming of whatever. Two boxers that have been avoiding each other for a couple years, finally together for a fight, so the hype is huge.
Yeah. So I guess that's the only thing we can say about why the Avengers didn't open as well as the first film. But I mean, you kind of have to take a step back and go, hey, this movie did open to nearly 188 million. And it is the second highest opening of all time. And globally, it has already made over 600 million.
Oh yeah, I don't think Disney is complaining.
You're right.
I think everyone's happy. I mean, considering, right? Besides, those people who defer watching it will eventually pay money to watch it anyway.
Yep. Maybe that means in the following weeks you'll hold up decent, but we'll see. Right. Although I saw it's not as good as the first film, but it's still highly entertaining.
Well, it's like I say, it's the accumulation of all these different storylines coming together into this movie.
Yeah, although I feel like by this one, that whole accumulation thing has kind of worn off. Like I almost don't care about that anymore. When I saw Avengers 2, I feel like, okay, I got enough of this end credit, this, sequence. I think people are getting to the point where they just wanted to wrap up now.
Well, well, at least I've been predicting, like, I mean, I'm not predicting, but I'm waiting for the demise of the superhero genre. Like just people getting tired of superhero movies. But it'll continue to do well.
Yeah.
Anyway, not too shabby. 187 million.
Yeah, nothing to complain about. Just one not as high as people in the industry predicted, but still the second largest opening of all time.
Yes. So no one's complaining.
Yeah.
We're just trying to explain why our predictions were off. Something we didn't account for. We should have, but we didn't account for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to number 2, The Age of Adaline. It made 6.2 million in the second weekend, a 52% drop off. It's kind of expected.
Yeah, although Avengers took a huge chunk of the business. Almost every other film on the list have dropped in the 50 to 60% range, or 50 to 70% range. So a lot of people just went to see the Avengers. It's not one of those times when you don't see the effect of, hey, Avengers got all these people went to see the Avengers and maybe it was sold out or whatever, and they had to buy tickets to other films. Here, it seems like everyone just went to see the Avengers, and that's kind of it.
Well, yeah, sort of, but for Age of Adaline is counter programming. It's only a like 52% drop off, which is kind of in line with the second weekend of typical movies, right? I mean, and since this is pretty much aimed at the woman audience, who probably won't go watch the Avengers anyway, right? I think it's in line.
That's a good point. That's actually that's a very good point. Because of all the films on the list, the Age of Adaline, which targets the woman audience, Woman in Gold, which has Helen Mirren as the lead character, targeting a different audience, Cinderella, which we'll get to, targeting a completely different audience. Those films held up decently well. I mean, the Age of Adaline and Woman in Gold dropped by about 50%. But Cinderella, surprisingly, only dropped off by about 15%, which is really low. While every other film on the list is in the 65 to 70% range. So that counter programming, like you said, helped those films hold up a bit better. While the other films, everyone just kind of abandoned them and went to see the Avengers.
Right. So those who didn't see the boxing match or the basketball game went to see Age of Ultron. Except those who went out to watch those movies targeted at the female audience.
Yeah, those women who were able to sneak out the Pacquiao, Mayweather fight or the NBA playoffs.
Okay, so robot fighting, superhero fighting, and then it's like two guys fighting in the ring. So
Right. Let's move on to number 3, Furious 7. It made 6 million, a huge drop off, not surprisingly, 66%. After 5 weeks of release, it's already made 330 million. It did what people expected by this weekend because they target the same audience. People know that it's gonna drop like a brick after, when Avengers open. Now it looks like it might not get to 350 right now. It's at 330. But no matter what, it's a huge hit.
Where is it now on the all-time list?
Okay, globally, it's already made 1.4 million, and I think it's number 4, I think, behind Avatar. What's the other James Cameron movie?
Titanic.
Yeah, Avatar, Titanic, and the first Avengers. I think the first Avengers is at 1.5 million.
Yes.
So this has about another 70 million to go. I'm not sure. It'll probably get there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, if it holds up, we'll pass the Avengers.
Yeah, if it holds up, I wonder if it's going to drop a lot since the Avengers also opened globally.
So we'll see. It's possible because like the summer season has started, right? And all these big movies will be coming out, which will take a huge chunk from these movies as well.
Yeah.
Right. But if people want to watch it, they can also check it out on, VOD, home video, etc., etc. So
yeah, so we'll see. It might get to number 3. Right now it's the 4th highest grossing film worldwide of all time, and it could reach the first Avengers.
We'll keep an eye out.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, number 4, Paul Blart, Mall Cop 2, made 5.5. Again, it's another movie affected by Avengers, 62% drop off, and in its third week, it already made 51 million.
Yeah, I mean, last week it held up really well. So this week it's not looking good because I mean, sure the film only cost 30 million to make, so it's going to be profitable. But when you compare it to the first film, which made nearly 150 million, it's hard not to call this a disappointment because it is pretty disappointing because it looks like it'll probably top off at 60 million or so, or 65, which is only about half of what the first film made. So,
which is okay. I mean, the reviews were pretty bad. So
it just means that Kevin James will be appearing in more Adam Sandler's movies than his own movies.
Well, in any case, I think they were happy with Mall Cop 2. It's one of those sequels that which shouldn't be a sequel in any case, right? But they made one for 30 million and it's profitable, which is not bad in and of itself.
It is profitable. They were probably expecting it to do a little bit better, I think. But hey, they made money, so
right. And terrible reviews. Come on,
yeah, right.
The people who want to watch this movie already watch it, and whatever comes is just extra money.
It might hold up better in the coming weeks, though, because now that Avengers has came out, it's gonna stabilize.
Yeah, we will see because I think there might be more comedies coming in that would.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
take a chunk.
Yeah, there's Hot Pursuit.
Hot Pursuit and others.
Yeah, and others. Yep.
So we will see. Okay, let's move on to number 5, Home. 3.3 million. About nearly 59% drop off, and in a 6 week, 158 million so far domestic.
At a budget of 135 million. This is again DreamWorks saving grace after a string of duds.
Yeah, DreamWorks Animations. It's like a couple of duds, and then they have this huge hit. The pattern seems to be like that.
Right. But what DreamWorks is, they've been great about sequels, doing sequels to the film. So, Home is not just a successful film. It's going to be a franchise. Like the Cruise, like How to Train Your Dragon, like the Shrek movies, or like the Madagascar movies. So this is not just a one hit thing. It's a franchise for them.
Right.
So it's not just a one-off.
Right. They keep milking whatever's successful.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to number 6, Cinderella. Of all the films in the top 10. It's the only one with just 15% drop off, not affected at all by Age of Ultron. It made 2.4 million, and total is made 194 domestically.
Yeah, it looks like it will cross 200.
Yep. Worldwide is already at 494 million, which is very good.
Cinderella is one of those movies where, for me at least, it's there, but I don't feel like watching it. But then it's a huge hit.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. I'm curious though. Now I'll probably catch it on video just to see what the hype is.
Yeah, it's just like Frozen, right? It's like, oh, you hear this movie, this animations, everyone's going crazy for it.
Yeah, although when I first saw Frozen, I did like it a lot. Though I was like, this is a return to what Disney does best, which is musicals. Except, they're using 3D. They're 3D animation instead of cell animation. What I'm surprised by is I wonder why, let's say Home, another family film, dropped by 60%, but Cinderella, which is also a family film, dropped by only 15%.
Good question.
At first I'm like, maybe it's targeting like Age of Adaline and Women in Gold, targeting the woman audience. But then Home is also kind of targets a mother-daughter. It has a mother-daughter story. But then Home still dropped by 60%. I wonder why Cinderella.
Well, I think the reason is because Cinderella target a older group, whereas Home is more family, and family are at home watching the basketball game and the boxing match.
Yeah, maybe.
But for the older group, they can
like teen girls
or what have you, and they can they have transportation and they can go watch these type of movies.
Yeah, they can sneak out without, yeah. That could be it. They're the only ones who can transport themselves.
Right, right.
Everyone else are, stuck at home.
That's right. Watching the fight or the basketball game, whether they want to or not.
Yeah.
Okay, number 7, Ex Machina, the indie sci-fi movie, which expanded, made 2.2 million.
After 4 weeks of release, limited and expansion, it's made nearly 11 million. For indie film, that's pretty good. I think in general for indie film, if they make after 5 million, is decent.
Yeah, this is only a second week in over 1,000 theaters.
Yeah, it's just too bad that Avengers 2 came out and took a decent chunk of this box office too.
Mm-hmm.
But then you never know. These sci-fi films tend to drop like a brick on the second weekend. So it could be that or a combination of both.
Right. So who knows? I mean, it might remain in theaters for a while. It's looks like one of those movies that got promoted the heck out of it. You see all these banner ads for Ex Machina. So who knows?
Yeah, and the reviews on RT are really, really high. Right? It's like 90+%, right?
Right. Okay, moving on. Number 8, Unfriended, about 1.9, nearly 2 million, 68% drop. And in its third week, it already made over like 28.5 million. And the budget couldn't be right.
1 million?
Box Office Mojo.
No, it's right. It's right.
Oh, okay. 1 million. Oh, for a while there, I thought it was like $1.
Oh no! So in millions.
But I believe that. I believe that though.
Yeah, it could have been made for $1 million. Yeah, I mean a dollar could have been made for $1. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those look, very low budget indie horror films that is able to generate a following online and eventually 28.5 million is nothing. Is a pretty decent sized hit.
Yes. Yeah.
And especially for a genre that's been trending down, this kind of break out that slightly out of that genre and is able to do decently well.
Yeah, I don't know if the horror genre is trending down. It's just that the paranormal activity movies kind of throw the equation out of whack. They always make around this much. Just that the 100.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Openers are rare.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're right. I think it's the paranormal activity and the James Wan films that kind of throw this thing out of whack.
Right.
But like you said, but if you took those movies out, they generally do around 20 to 30 million.
All right, number 9, The Longest Ride, the Nicholas Sparks romance, 1.7 million, which is kind of strange. Has a 60% drop off.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of great counter programming, but still, after 4 weeks of release, it's made 33 million, which means the Nicholas Sparks genre is still alive. But I'm surprised that the budget is 34 million.
Yeah,
because none of those actors are well known, and I'm wondering what is the budget going towards.
I think they need to dig a hole for that lake. Right?
Yeah, I know. 34 million.
Where's the money going to?
Yeah, I mean, none of those actors, or A-listers, and 34 million. Wow. Did it look like a period piece to you?
No, it's just like the country outback, this cowboy.
That's the thing. I'm surprised by the 34 million budget, which kind of makes it not. They might lose money on this.
Who knows? Hollywood accounting, you can never tell.
At first, I thought, it's probably a low budget romance, and 33 million is pretty good, and they might make a profit. But now I don't think they might not make a profit, because it doesn't seem like these films have an international following. Like romances isn't a great genre on the international market, unlike the action genre. In foreign markets, it's only made about 12 million so far. So with a price tag of 34 million, it might lose money.
Yeah, I don't see where the money's going. The money, what are
so
they spending money on?
Yeah, so I don't know. At first, I thought, hey, the Nicholas Sparks genre is alive and well. Now I'm thinking, hey, with such a huge budget, they're going to lose money on this, and it's not good for Nicholas Sparks. Yeah, but yeah,
We'll see. I mean, also the longest ride has competition from the Age of Adaline too.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So that could be it. But still, 34 million, like you said, they probably have to dig the hole for the lake. We gotta
because
look into this because the Nicholas Sparks films always have these like flashbacks into the past, right?
yeah.
So
Oh, that's
maybe
true.
it's these flashbacks that are costing that much money. Because period films are expensive just because they have to recreate the time period and with the set design and and clothing and the fashion. Maybe this one,
That's true. That's true.
and maybe that's what's pushing the budget up.
Okay, I think that's it.
I think with the action genre, or if you can make back your budget domestically, your movie will make a profit because you'll make it up internationally and then on video.
Hmm.
But the longest why romance is on huge overseas, so they need to do a little bit better than their budget domestically because they can't make it up in foreign markets. So the longest why might actually lose money for Fox.
Okay, so moving on to number 10, Woman in Gold, about 1.7 million, experienced a 50% drop.
Hmm.
In its fifth week, it's already made 24.6 million.
Yeah, at a budget of 11 million.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey,
So
this one was a period movie too, right? Kind of.
Uh, I don't know.
Well, in any case, 11 million versus 34 for the longest ride.
Yeah, yeah. And Woman and Go is a decent size hit, for
Yeah.
Helen Mirren, especially for an indie outfit like the Weinstein Company. It's a solid hit.
I don't know what they were thinking. 34 million.
They're probably thinking, hey, Channing Tatum and Ryan Gosling days. They're thinking they can still get the 70 to 80 million box office. That's what they're thinking. But they don't have Ryan Gosling or Channing Tatum. They got
Scott Eastwood.
yeah, Scott Eastwood. I can't even remember his name. That's how that's the kind of star power they have.
All right, they just get a pretty face and put it on a poster, and that's it.
Yeah. Although Ryan Gosling before The Notebook was mainly just an indie actor, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah. But Channing Tatum was already a decent draw at the box office. So maybe
Okay.
they were thinking, hey, they can turn Scott Eastwood into the next Ryan Gosling. But still, I don't think they're putting another 34 million into a Nicholas Sparks movie unless they're able to get Channing Tatum or Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where star power matters, right? I mean, people say, "Oh,
Yeah,
stars doesn't matter anymore."
yeah,
This is one of the case where you have an expensive movie, you need people, you need someone to bring in the audience.
yeah. Especially for genre films, I think it matters a lot because if you put Dwayne The Rock in an action movie, he's gonna get his fan base. But if you put an unknown person in an action movie, then it's not gonna have that kind of draw.
Okay, let's move on to the new openings this week.
Okay, sure.
Okay, we have D Train and
Mm-hmm.
Hot Pursuit.
And D Train is only on 700 theaters. So let's go with Hot Pursuit.
Okay, Hot Pursuit is the comedy starring Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara.
Mm-hmm.
Witherspoon plays a cop who has to protect Vergara from some people who are out to get her.
It gets back to that, what's that film with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy?
Heat, I think, right? Is it something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, Heat. Wait, something Heat. It wasn't just Heat.
The Heat.
It was The Heat?
The Heat.
Oh, The Heat. All right, all right.
Close enough. We just dropped the article.
Yeah, yeah, close enough. It has that kind of, except with The Heat, you have two comedians, Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock, uh, in a comedy, and they both have a great chemistry. This one, well, I guess this one you do have two comedians too, Sofia Vergara and Reese Witherspoon, and we haven't seen Reese Witherspoon in a comedy in a while. And it used to be her bread and butter. She did really well in comedies and romantic comedies, and suddenly she decided that she wanted to be serious. And I guess now she's going back to that. And I wonder if she can recapture that magic though.
I think she can, but you have to temper your expectation. Hot Pursuit
Mhm.
is one of these movies where, before it starred like a white cop, a guy, and a black con or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So they just kind of switched the gender on this.
Yeah, and I wonder how well it's going to work this time because the Heat was a surprise, did surprisingly well. Well, I'm not sure how surprisingly well it is when you have Melissa McCarthy who had a string of comedy hits, and then Sandra Bullock was coming off of The Blind Side. But I guess people were surprised by it because like you said, it's one of those films that you normally see two guy actors as a comedic duo instead of women. I think after the success of that film, The Heat, they were wondering if that will pave the way for more comedies starring two women comedians instead of two guy comedians. So I wonder how this is going to do.
Well, how it's gonna do? I figure the movie is going to do somewhere. I think maybe 15 to 20 million.
15 to 20 million?
Yes, but it could possibly do more.
Oh, you think so? Okay, 15. I'm thinking, yeah, 15 to 20 too. Although I'm not sure what kind of draw Reese Witherspoon is anymore. I mean, Sofia Vergara, she hasn't exactly been a draw at the box office by herself, even though she's hugely popular. She's a popular comedian. I mean, she's a popular celebrity.
Well, she's huge on TV.
Yeah, she's huge on TV, but on film she's not she's not a huge draw yet.
Right, that's why she's paired up with Reese Witherspoon.
And Reese Witherspoon hasn't been in a comedy in a long time, even though it's a genre that she did really well in. So I'm kind of curious. Although 15 to 20 million would be a pretty decent opening for the two of them, I think.
Besides, it's one of these women comedies, right?
Yeah, and it's good counter programming.
Yes, that is that. And comedies tend to do well. I mean, especially female comedies these days.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the Heat opened to like 35 million, right? Something around it.
Yeah, and besides, this comedy is sort of like a throwback. Like I say, it usually stars like two guys or a guy or a woman, one of these formulas films. And it's not like a raunchy comedy and all. It's just one of these things that's situational.
Yeah.
So we'll see if there's any room for these kind of comedies anymore.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of tame, is what I'm saying, compared to comedies.
Yeah, it is kind of tame, and it's very broad, and it's the kind of film that Melissa McCarthy does really well in. So I'm not sure how Reese Witherspoon will do in it.
Oh, I think she'll be fine. They play with her height, constantly in the trailers, and then about Sophia's age. So there's gonna be this running joke about it. But it's the other parts, right?
Yeah, I think 15 to 20 the studio would be happy with, but still it's not earth-shattering.
Yeah. We'll see. I suspect it might make more,
It might do better, yeah.
It might do better, but I'm just being conservative and saying 15 to 20.
Yeah, I'm thinking 15 to 20 too. Or I might be closer to 10 to 15. Here, I'll go a notch lower.
All right, let's be bold.
Yeah, 10 to 15, you say 15 to 20.
Okay.
So we'll see who's right. All right. Let's move on to the B Train.
Yes.
Which is another comedy, except this one is about a high school reunion starring Jack Black and James Marsden. I don't know, the trailer, in the end, it felt kind of weird. So I could see why it's only opening in 700 theaters, because it doesn't seem like a film that would get a wide appeal.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's weird, except that it's not targeting like a wide swath of people.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
it's more of an adult comedy.
But in the end, he gets obsessed with James Marsden characters, so that kind of threw it off a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, they have to do something to ratchet up the plot, the tension, what have you. But
yeah,
it's like a guy, middle age. He's not successful as the guy in high school, and he's trying to, I guess, try to get close to him. Yeah, so it is not like Hot Pursuit. It's not like one of these comedies that's going to appeal to a lot of people.
You're right. So I'm thinking that might end up being like one of these previous films starring big name actors in stories that are not that appealing to a mass audience.
I'm not sure if they're big name actors. Okay, Jack Black hasn't been a big name for a while.
Yeah, that's true. He was. Yeah, that's true. He was a kind of semi-dependable comedian, but yeah.
I
He
mean,
hasn't exactly been lighting the box office on fire. Although
yeah,
we haven't seen him in many films in a while, right?
that too. But then the movies that he chose to be in, besides the those big major comedies. I mean, like The Big
Yeah,
Year, like Bernie.
right.
I mean, the D Train is sort of like in along those along
Yeah,
those type of
they're
movies.
not projects that appeal to a wide audience. Maybe that's the kind of films that he wants to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what number are you putting it at?
I'm going probably 5 million or less.
Yeah, same here. Like like the some of those other limited kind of semi-wide releases. I'm just gonna I might even go lower. I think I'm going like 2 to 3 million.
Yeah, I think you might be right there because like it's only open in what 700 sold theaters,
Yeah.
right? I think 5 million might be too much.
Yeah, kind of like True Story and Child 44.
Yeah,
Remember those films? Yeah.
right. Those were like 1 or 2 million. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking this might be, you know what? I'm sticking with 2 million. Forget three. I'm not even giving it that extra million.
Okay, let me revise mine too. Let me go with you. I'll 2 million.
You're going for 2 million?
2 million, 2 million.
All
Yeah,
right. Okay. All right.
5 million is too much. Okay,
Let's see what happens next week. It'll be
okay.
interesting. I'm curious to see if Reese Witherspoon can recapture her magic.
Oh, I
And
think she can. I think she can.
because comedies used to be her genre, the genre that she can always count on to open a film. I'm also curious, after the Heat, a lot of writers have said, hey, Hollywood doesn't pair up women in comedies, in buddy comedies, and hopefully, with the success of the Heat, there'll be more of those kind of films. And here's another. It took a while.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying how that film will hopefully make these movies more frequent, but it's been a while since another one of those. So I'm curious to see how Hot Pursuit will do. If it does really well, they're like, hey, now we're definitely pairing up more women in comedies. If it does well, hey, Reese Witherspoon, it proves that hey, she can still lean back on comedies.
Well,
Yeah,
this is not a romantic comedy, so I think we're safe for
yeah,
that. And I think Reese Witherspoon herself can still bring in people. I mean, again, it
hmm
depends on the budget for this movie, but I think it'll surprise some people. All right,
yeah.
and these will be answered over the weekend, so we'll see.
All right, we'll see. All right, see you guys next week.